So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good morning. Today we're talking about PCI DSS and GDPR and how to reduce the effort to comply with these two regulations. So, my name is Enrico Ermanno Dall'Ara. I am a PCI QSA auditor and I'm a Chief Security Officer at 366 SECOM. But after this, I want to ask you one question. How many of you here that are listening to me can afford to lose 4% in fine of your annual turnover? Please raise your hand. That's what I expected. Because this is the fine that you will get. No, sorry, this is not okay. This is the fine that you're going to get if you fail to comply with regulations such as GDPR. What is GDPR? GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulations, and it's a regulation from the European Union that carries provisions that require business to protect personal data and privacy within the European Union state members when it comes to transactions of this data. The GDPR also regulates the transactions of this data with other members outside, with other states outside the European Union. The thing is that if you fail to comply with GDPR, this can have a big impact on your business because it allows for steep penalties that are up to 20 million euros in fine per year or 4% of your global turnover, whichever is higher. And the worst thing is that it's coming into force on May 25th of 2018. So it's just 77 days from now. And then the other is PCI DSS, which has been around for a while, and it's a standard made by MasterCard, Visa, American Express, JCI, Discover, which are the so-called PCI Standard Security Standard Council. It distinguishes between merchant and service providers, and it's a mandatory compliance if your business deals with credit cards. It has 12 mandatory requirements. Come on. Oh, OK. So what are the merchants? Merchants are the ones that accept payment in goods, payments for goods sold with credit cards. And there are basically 4 levels of merchants. Every level requires different kind of security. And the same goes for PCI DSS providers, which are like your payment gateway. And these are just 2 levels. But let's see what this regulation talks about. PII and CHD, what are these 2 acronyms? PII, that is mainly GDPR talks about, stands for Personal Identifiable Information, or PII. And I quote directly from Article 4(1) on what is this PII. It's any information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person, which is called the data subject. An identifiable natural person is one who can be identified directly or indirectly, in particular by reference to an identifier such as a name, an identification number, a location data, an online identifier, or to one or more factors specific to the physical, physiological, genetic, mental, economic, cultural, social identity of that natural person. And guess what? Your credit card number falls into this category, okay? And what is cardholder data? Cardholder data is if you take out your credit card, you will see that there is a number on it that is called a primary account number, or shortened in PAN, a cardholder name, which is probably is yourself, an expiration date, and beside it is another 3-digit codes that stands for the card verification value. All this is sensitive data that are regulated specifically by PCI DSS when it comes to cardholder data, and the rest, such as your name, your address, your social security number, like a national number, are regulated by GDPR. Particularly, credit card holder data are regulated by both PCI DSS and GDPR. So, how do you protect this sensitive data? Well, you have a few methods that can summarize in these ones that I'm going to show you. The first one is that is also mentioned in the GDPR law. It's the so-called anonymizations. If we take my name, for example, Enrico Ermanno Dall'Ara, and we substitute it with we substitute it with a few X or a few stars, you basically remove the name, okay? And this is the anonymization. Then you have something that this is good if you wanted to anonymize a document, but to retrieve the data, then it can be a bit cumbersome when you anonymize it. Or you can pseudonymize it, and it's probably pseudonymized the range here as well. Okay. Pseudonymization. If you take my name, Enrico Ermanno Dall'Ara again, and you substitute it with an ID, okay. You see, with an ID, like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a way to still have a reference to the data you want to store, and still be still protected. And the last one is encryption, which take the best of the two and basically take my name or the name of the data subject, throw it to some algorithm and computation, and in the output there is a string of basically totally meaningless character to you. So, this data we have talked about, they are part of the scope of GDPR and PCI DSS. So this is just a brief introduction on scope. A scope in GDPR is basically the total of the perimeters of circulations of personal identifiable information from a legal and a technical perspective. What does this mean? It means that how this data, the name, the address, the social security number, all this kind of stuff, your party affiliation, your religious affiliation, any kind of things that can identify you as an individual, flow inside your business. And that's the scope of the GDPR, okay? Where do they flow? The scope in PCI DSS is more or less the same thing, but it is everything, systems, people, processes that stores, process, transmit, or receive credit card holder data. Scope, defining scope can be very challenging. They can get very big if you don't have the good instruments and tools and knowledge in order to shape them correctly. And therefore, the effort to become compliant can become very, very, very costly. So you might end up in a sort of a hell. Well, just a quick thing. In this presentation, there were supposed to be nice icons like devils and angels, but you know, we are in the IT security business, and that guy over here, which is my chief executive officer, didn't agree with that. So it becomes like that. So you can see, and even if you don't see or you don't know, believe me that if you deal with credit cards or with GDPR, you have a few problems, which are storing and transmission of credit card data. It's mandatory for PCI DSS. It is risky because, as we have seen, cardholder data is ambrosia for bad guys, for malicious individuals that want to steal it. It costs a lot of money to increase the protection of this data, and it's also time-consuming. Then another thing that is important is that in GDPR, one of the key concepts is that an EU citizen has the right to be forgotten by your company. And what does it mean to be forgotten? That you have to be available to wipe out the data of this European Union citizen if it requires. Or he can ask you, please, where are my data stored in your system? And then you need to be able to show to her or to him where these data are stored in your system. And that's the reason, the readiness and the disposability of personal identifiable information. And this again is mandatory, is risky, is costly, and time-consuming. And then, on top of all these things, you have audits and compliance to face, to be able to demonstrate that you follow the rules correctly. And this might be tough to face. So let's take a look to an extremely simple example to how easy it is to store a credit card data. In a typical example of a family that is happy to book their vacation, their hotel. So they type in the credit card in the form, they send it over to the OTA. The OTA does its magic and turns it into an XML file, which is basically just a file with a bunch of records inside. And inside of these records, there is a credit card that is stored and written in clear text. What does it mean? Everybody knows what means clear text here? It means that if I intercept it, I'm able to read it, okay? It's not encrypted. And then it is sent to the channel manager, and then the channel manager exchange the info with the hotel so in order to save the reservation. But, as I told you, the XML here contains a clear text credit card data field. And if this communication is either intercepted or the OTA or the channel manager gets breached, then a bad guy can run away with your credit card in his hand, okay? And your credit card would be stolen. And they have big value on black market. So if this happens, what are the fines that you would face? And there are basically two types. Direct consequences, immediate fines. So for PCI DSS, it can be from 5,000 euro per month to 500,000 euro per month, plus a range between 50 euros and 90 euros per credit card that has been compromised. Imagine if you have a database with 1 million records, okay? It can go up to the 4% of the global turnover. With this GDPR, you have 20 million euros or 4% of your global annual turnover, whichever is higher. So here, in the worst case scenario, we are already up to 8% of your global turnover. Then you have indirect consequences, which might be even tougher. This loss of reputation with customers, with banks, with brands, and additional costs because the guys from the state or the PCI Council will for sure send a forensic investigation, and they, believe me, are quite expensive. So, and probably you will end up in having more stringent compliant requirements, and this will make your business turning into a real hell. But worry not. We have a token to heaven. Solution here is called tokenization. And to keep it simple, technically a token is a string of meaningless characters that might substitute personal identifiable information or credit card holder data in a way that they are meaningless to an attacker or to a malicious individual. Here you have a brief and very small example. This is a card number. Of course, it's fake. Don't try to use it to buy anything anywhere because it will not work. And this is a token of this card number. Okay? You see that it is a completely different string than this one. So how does this fit inside the picture I showed you before on how to steal credit card holder data? Again, here we have our happy family that is going to make a reservation. They send over the data to the credit card data to the OTA. The OTA turns the data into an XML file and sends the credit card data, this time not to the channel manager, but it sends to 366 Booking, which is our own booking engine that will receive, okay, will receive the XML files. It will extract the field with the credit card holder data and will replace the PAN, the credit card number, with the meaningless string I've told you about before. And then we'll forward that to the channel manager. So why this is important? Because you see that there is no arrows anymore between the OTA and the channel manager. Okay? What does this entail? That the channel manager will get released by being fully compliant with PCI DSS. This will allow for much lower effort from his side. And one thing, 366 SECOM is not an OTA, is not a channel manager. We are an IT security company. We have been doing this for all our life. So it's our core business to protect the data and to ease your life. So if the guy we told about, even if he's intercepted the communication and he catch the XML file, this time the XML file will have no information to the attacker. And that's why he's sad here, because even though he steals, he doesn't have anything. So, I want to introduce you a case study we have done in here, and please welcome on the stage Fabrizio Scuppa, the Chief Executive Officer of Octorate. Hello, Fabrizio, thank you. And she's coming. And be gentle to the remote.
I'm Fabrizio Scuppa from Octorate. Octorate is a all-in-one solution for hotels. So that include a channel manager, booking engine, and PMS. We connect with 120 OTA, so we receive every month more than 200,000 credit card numbers with all the details that just said before. And for us, could be impossible actually to store in a safe way in our server in an affordable way, and we're using actually the SECOM 366 SECOM solution. And well, all the credit cards are coming on the proxy that they created, and we just receive a token number that are in our server, so we actually don't have any risk about the loss of any hacking or stuff like that. More than that, through we need to go forward.
Yes. Again.
There we go. Hello too. We also do automatic payment for our customer, for our hotel working with us. They can make a lot of automatic payment. Here we go, yes. They can make a lot of, we can charge automatically the first night, for example, of a certain percentage of the booking, and we can also automatically charge, for example, before the arrival, the rest of the balance of the booking. And we do all this, we never touch the PAN, the credit card number of the customer, because we just send to SECOM the token number. They have the connection with all the payment gateway that we, all the other payment gateway, and they charge, the money go directly to the hotel without that the hotel keep the credit card number. That is actually what we do. I think this finished the stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so this were the outcome you said. They also the less complicated PCI DSS audit, because you don't have
of course,
anything
without we don't have any credit card data stored on our server, so with that, of course, out of the scope of the PCI, that is really much more easy to be compliant for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Thank you. So, as you have seen, the outcome of this partnership was the freedom to choose any payment service provider, which buzzwords nowadays is to call it PSP agnostic, okay? The avoided direct credit card storage, the access to payment and booking data, and less complicated PCI DSS audit. So, if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer you. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for the presentation. So your solution is based from the side of the channel manager. What about if you're on the side of the OTAs?
If you are on the side of the OTAs, then yes, it can work in a similar way, but we need, it works basically in a similar way. Just our booking engine and is not just a booking engine, it's a platform, a security platform that has different products, okay, and can clearly integrate without any problem with the OTA.
Yeah, so it's not a problem. Could you just go back to the... so your integration is... so we can move the integration with your platform?
Yes.
Before the connection with the customers?
Yes. Our solution is basically, we call it here, this presentation presented the 366 booking, but 366 has a platform that is a suite, okay? And part of this suite, there is a proxy that can go over here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Then, we have a question here.
Hello.
Hello.
You're securing the connectivity between the OTAs or those guys and
Yes.
the hotel, but what about between the guest and the OTAs? And
What?
second question, what if the booking is not paid, is not confirmed? So still the hotel has to receive the credit card information and it will reside on his premise.
No, actually, no, because the hotel will, in our suite, the hotel has the possibility of authenticate to the booking and do the payment with the token. Okay, so he will not receive the credit card. He can if he wants, but the aim here is not to receive. The focus is not to store or to deal with the credit card. Yes. Okay. Yes, maybe our channel manager can answer for that.
No, actually, we can when we receive the token, we can send the cancellation we can send to SECOM the expiration date of the token. That of course the token will be deleted, and of course all the credit card data on SECOM when the reservation will expire. And of course, if the reservation is not confirmed, we send immediately the expiration. We set the expiration in the same date. So the token will be deleted and the credit card as well. So, I mean, the channel manager have the control that we can send to SECOM. We can ask to confirm or to delete the token, so the credit card number.
Well, thank you very much. If you want to know more, we are just around the corner. And when I say just around the corner, I mean we are here. And if you want to drop by, we'll be happy to answer to more questions like this. Or otherwise, just come because there are good candies. Thank you.